Hello, I'm Jeremy, and welcome to my channel. One of the things that I want to do, depending on what platform you are, depends on whether if I have one or two channels. So on YouTube, I do have two. They're called Freedom of Expression and Practical Focused Improvement. And the Practical Focused Improvement is exactly as it sounds. I want to focus on myself, but in a practical way. A lot of this has started off from Jordan Peterson, and I do have his book, 12 Rules of Life. I'm going to go through every chapter, not in huge detail, a bit of a synopsis, I guess you could say, and then applying it. There's a lot of work as to why I've done all this. I started off with developing myself because I was tired of the way that my life was. So I got into it, and after a couple of years, it kind of led to a point where I think I could monetize this in a way by doing YouTube videos and sharing in my experience with this. And during all this, came across a video, and they were talking about how one of the things is with procrastination is you want to keep learning more and then you don't ever do anything. It's like, if I just get a little bit more, and that just hit me like a lightning bolt. It's like, well, yep, that's me. There's a lot of things that I learned and it sounds really good, and I kept putting it off and putting it off. And then it kind of clicked a little bit, I guess, before that video, and that was with my weight loss. I lost roughly 50 pounds. I did it very slowly. One of the things that I did was that I created kind of a health statement about a mission statement about my health. No, so this was after. This is where I kind of put it together a little bit better. Jordan Peterson talked about something to help you into attaining your goals is to write about two things. This is one of many things that he's talked about. But to write about something to aim towards to help move you forward, and also to write about things to avoid, have things kind of behind you. So then you have one thing pushing you away and one thing pulling you towards it. So it's like, okay, yeah, I'm going to do that because my health has always been something that I've been interested in and had an attachment with. So with my writing, I came up with 6 things. You want to list things that are important to you, because you can come up with 100 different things dealing with your health. And just because you can do that, it doesn't mean that it has any kind of merit with you, even though they may be legitimate. So I'm just going to share with you what my things are. Number 1 is cancer. It's because cancer runs in my family. My family has died from cancer, and it's kind of hard to do anything else if you're dead. So I do have that listed as number 1. Number 2 is illness and injury prevention. Like, yeah, it's harder to get hurt if you're in good shape. One of the things that's really kicked me into overdrive with this is that I do have some specific medical conditions, and it wasn't helping me any that I was overweight. And they said, yes, if you lose the weight, it will help. And I was also having joint pains in just about every single joint. I was waking up almost every morning and I had a new pain somewhere. Now that I've lost 50 pounds, all of that is gone. The only time I have any kind of pains is because, yeah, I worked out, like maybe I've done something to my back because of squats or something like that, which happens. But I'm not waking up every day with it anymore. And also, my mom died of cancer, and whenever she did, she had cervical cancer, and it came back as a tumor inside of her brain. So it killed her very slowly. And at the same time, oh, what was that cyclist's name from Austin? He won the Tour de France like 7 times. Anyways, he also came down with brain cancer, and they attributed some of that to his recovery to his extreme health. And I've heard this before on and off on my life. And right now, as it stands, I kind of favor that a little bit more. Could be completely wrong, but I have to go with something. I don't want to stay stagnant with all of this. Let's get back to it. Number 3 is my wife. I'm not married, but girls, I should say, that I want a girl who's attractive, and it's kind of BS for me to demand that of a girl and for me not to be that way myself. And then with number 4, which ties into that, is leading by example. It was just kind of my kids, but I decided also for others. But whenever I was growing up, I didn't have very much from my family at all, especially from my parents. And I don't want to do those same mistakes with my children. What you do at home is extremely important. So here's a problem that I don't like. It's that there are a lot of people who will go to their children or to kids or to anyone and say, if you ever have a problem, you can always come and talk to me. How do they know what a problem is? They don't know. So for example, we'll go with this to a little bit of an extreme, but it's not far-fetched at all. You'll understand this. That is, if you go up to a baby and you say, hey, if you ever have any problems, you let me know. The baby's just going to stare at you. It's going to drool, poo its diaper, and, well, you didn't do anything because the baby didn't tell you. It's like, that's ridiculous. Just because that kid has grown up some and learned some words, that doesn't mean that they magically know everything. So saying that, I'm here for you if you need any help with anything, let me know about any problems. How do they know what problems are? It's BS. It's virtue signaling. It's being absolutely lazy. And you know what? If you've grown up and you were in a household where that's what your parents told you, then you got screwed over. And that's the way it was with me. And, well, not even that, but that would have been a step up. But the correct answer is that if you care about your children, then what you should do is say, come here, sit down, and tell me about your day. And then as you're going through their day, you fill in all the holes, because they don't know. How else are they supposed to know? And this is part of the reason why church is such a big thing, because they do put in a lot of things that never get taught in school. School doesn't cover it all, not by a long shot, but you can fill in a ton through your family. And so, yeah, I decided leading by example because, well, that's what it is. I'm not going to force it onto anyone. I don't know what's right or wrong. This is just what I've taken to heart for me, and that if I were to ever be fortunate enough to be a father, then I want to do as much as I can to help them, and not to raising my children to continue to be children, but raising my children to be competent adults. And that's something that's going to require effort on my part. Children do not get to pick and choose on any of this stuff, but you do get to decide if you're going to have children through your actions. And so I think that makes it a special relationship where you are responsible for your children. Your children have absolutely no responsibilities to you whatsoever. Screw that crap. So also to have strength and energy to be able to live a productive life, and to be able to provide and to actively engage. I mean, how are you going to do anything if you can't even get up out of the chair? And I've known some big people throughout my life. I've known some really healthy, active people in their life. And it's like, yes, I would like to be able to do things. And just through my weight loss, just through 50 pounds, it's like, yes, I have absolutely noticed the difference. I will not go back. And so whenever I did my weight loss, it was something that took a long period of time. It took a couple of years. And it was because what I did was I put it into a schedule, a routine that I had. And so I ate kind of the same thing all the time, except the weekends where I've got a little bit of play with it. And then I just took away from my schedule until I got down to where I wanted to be. And it's not quite there. I've kind of put it on pause because one of the things that I did want to do was that I wanted to do it while I was recording, so then that way everyone can see the journey that I've done with it. So it was like one of the things that I was doing was I was going several times to go get snacks and candies every single day. Where I was working at the time, I was going back and I was getting thirds. And so for 2 weeks, I would focus on two things, because whenever I changed it over to where I'm just going to eat raw vegetables as kind of a salad, even if I put ranch dressing on it or whatever, it's like I was lucky if I'd get through a day doing that without caving. But whenever I made smaller little changes, all of that worked. And it was not about being perfect. I don't believe in perfection at all. It was more of focusing on that, yes, I am going to fail, and that's fine. I expect it. But I also expect myself to be able to get myself up, dust myself off, and continue again. And if I have to take a couple of steps back, that's fine. And then because I broke it down into so many little steps, there came a point where it's like, I can't stop. I've come too far. I have done too much that I can't give up all this progress that I've done. Another thing that I did was that I also threw my clothes away as I got smaller. So at my biggest, I was wearing size 44 jeans. I'm down to 34s, and they're loose on me. And then one more thing that I'll add on this is that I got on this scale all the time. There was this study from the University of Colorado, and they wanted to know about people who had lost 30 pounds or more and kept it off for more than a year, because a lot of people could do weight loss, but they couldn't keep it off. And so they were wanting some information on this, and you had to have proof of it. And there were some things that they found out. And one of them was this little tidbit, was that they went onto the scale all the time too. And I knew exactly what they were talking about, because I don't remember if they even said, but the reason why I did it was because the scale does not lie. My appetite lies. Tell you what, I'm hungry all the time. I could eat nonstop. It's a little different now that I've lost the weight, but especially whenever I had the weight, it's like, yep, absolutely. I could just eat and eat and eat. And my body would definitely tell me, yes, you're hungry, stuff your face full of food. But you go and you jump on that scale, do something that makes you subconscious of what you're doing. Take your shirt off if you have to, but really, go get on that scale. It will tell you exactly where you're at. So, and then the sixth one is improvement. And that is on there because that is my personal life goal that I have on there now. I have it down out there at the bottom because it's just where it ended up. So to recap, it's one is cancer, or I have in parentheses over it, is to help fight and stave off death as much as possible. Number two is to deal with illness and injury. Three is to deal with girls and hopefully a future wife, leading by example for friends and family, especially my children, because I believe parents have an extremely large role in their children. Also having 5 is strength and energy, and 6 is just my goal of having personal improvement. I have 3 core goals that I have, which is improvement, health, and magnanimity. I have reasons for all that stuff, and I'm not going to quite get into it. And also, during my journey through self-development, I decided to have fun with it. Instead of just doing it, I decided to do the House of Jones. And it's because I've had this my entire life. So there's an old movie called Dune, and they had their houses. Star Wars has it in its canon. I guess a little bit more recent stuff would be Game of Thrones and Harry Potter. And it's like, well, yeah, why not? So my focus is not on materialism. The focus is on making yourself a better person, good enough to, it could be something that you could be proud of. So this is something that anyone can do. All you have to do is put yourself into it, as I'm doing with all that I'm doing with the content that I'm creating. It's not just, oh, well, you're going to be perfect and everything's going to work out for you. No, that's absolutely not it. It's just to do better than what you've done before. And I don't care where the best comes from. I don't care about whether if it's a black person, white, straight, gay, or any of that stuff. And so whenever my mom was dying from cancer, I did not think for 1 second, well, I'm not going to take the cure from cancer if it's from a gay person or a black, or it's only going to have to come from a straight white male for me to accept that. That never crossed my mind. And I'm telling you right now, you're absolutely insane if you think otherwise. And so if that's the way that you've been thinking, then I strongly encourage you to reevaluate things. I'm still new at this. I meant to put this a little bit, I try to put this at the beginning of my video, but if you've been watching the video and you've been enjoying it and understanding it, please give a thumbs up. If you've watched several of my videos, then obviously you're connecting with this. So go ahead and subscribe to see what else is to come, because I am not covering all of this at all. I'm just, there's just too much. I didn't even get into the keys to life that I have here. And there's just to kind of give me focus on all of this, but I'll make another video talking about all of this. 15 minutes. I'm going to